For more on this, we go to our panel tonight. Rory Riley-Topping, conservative commentator, is with us, and also Robert Patillo, who is a civil rights attorney. Great to have both of you with us tonight. Now, let's forget politics, forget left, right, blue, green, center, Republican, conservative, liberal, Democrat. Rory, what is the FBI doing inside a political campaign, and how can that not be investigated or some concern of the Justice Department? Fair question?
Well, I think that it is of concern to the Justice Department, and that's why they are looking into this. Rod Rosenstein made a statement today that if this is in fact true, which thus far the evidence is reported by the New York Post, or the New York Times and the Washington Post, seems to show that it is. It certainly does not look good for the FBI, and I think that it's unfortunate because there's been a lot of noise around Trump, Russia, Hillary's emails, and when things like this come out, it just goes to show that some of our worst fears are concerned about what's happening in the inner layers of our government.
Robert, what did you think of Clapper's response, trying to shift it away from the FBI and blaming it on Trump and the Russians? Your thoughts on that?
Well, let's understand that with President Trump, look at the orbit around him during the campaign. You had Paul Manafort, who had ties to the Russian government, Rob Gates, George Papadopoulos. You had the meeting between the Russian adoption lawyer and Donald Jr. at the Trump Tower. So, of course, the FBI would have every reason to look into these things and to surveil to find out what exact influence the Russian government was trying to assert over the Trump campaign, and particularly with being a campaign of political novices, whether or not they were manipulating the president's campaign. I don't think any of that would be improper when you're surrounding yourself with those people.
But I know what you're saying, but there was no evidence at the time that pointed to other than a fake dossier that was politically paid for. And that so far, that just hasn't measured up. And I'll ask you, Robert, is the president overboard in demanding that the Department of Justice investigate the FBI?
Well, I think investigating is fine. I think the American people need to understand and know exactly what went on in the campaign and what happened with the president at the time. As I said, the Senate should investigate, the House should investigate, the special counsel should investigate, the Department of Justice should investigate. But the idea that there's anything improper when you have lobbyists in the foreign lobbyists in the inner circle of your campaign, of course, that's going to trigger the FBI to investigate and find out more information.
Well, Hillary Clinton had people connected with her for years who had foreign connections. Sidney Blumenthal comes to mind. It's just one of many. Rory, taking a look at this investigation right now, is Robert Mueller living underneath a rock? I mean, this guy was the FBI director. Wouldn't he know if the FBI was inside the Trump campaign well before any investigation was put forward? Your thoughts?
Well, Ed, I think you just hit on an important point in that he was inside the FBI. He's an insider. So if there's corruption in the FBI, he's just going to be desensitized to it. And really, if you want a truly independent investigation, on the one hand, I understand that Mueller's experience is useful to the type of investigation that's taking place, but you really need an outsider to look at the culture of the organization to really do an independent investigation like the one that we need.
Yeah. And, Robert, isn't the damage in all of this that the James Clapper of the world, the James Comeys of the world, and even Mueller are always going to be viewed as political hacks who didn't want Donald Trump to win the election? What about that?
Well, I think it's the fact that we are peddling deep state conspiracies now, that we are saying that there's an entrenched secret shadow government, that's not helping America's democracy. It's not helping the legitimacy of the system. That if every time that someone is investigated, they attack the legitimacy of the system, then the American people stop believing in it. So what we have to make sure that we have a government that is fully vetted and that the American people know exactly what's going on.
Okay. Robert Patillo, Rory Riley-Topping, thank you for your time tonight.